Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC 319 live from Chicago on pay-per-view. Chimaev versus DDP. Huge fight. Can't wait to break this one down. It's a deep card as well. So excited for this pay-per-view card. I'll be providing free picks like always, breaking down the main card, leans, price talk, value, and more. Speaking of pay-per-views, guys, we're not going to see too many anymore. 2026 announced they are moving away from the pay-per-view model. So there's only, 4 or 5 left this year? Huge news from the UFC this week. They've signed with Paramount Plus. So no more $69.99 pay-per-views, $79.99, whatever you pay for the pay-per-views, no more. You just need to get a Paramount Plus subscription if you don't use a box already, or sports box, or a legal box, whatever you have. Like a lot of people do already, but Paramount Plus, anywhere from $7 to $12, depending which one you have. I think there's a few different options. So that's great news for the fans. Great deal for the UFC. But what about the fighters? That's going to be the question here, right? Does this benefit them? Because they're going to lose eyes from like a social media standpoint, because it used to be on ESPN. So there's that aspect of it. The pay-per-view point, the pay-per-view money that the champions bring in. That's another thing. So they're going to have to work that out. I'm hearing the bonuses may go up for fighters. Instead of the 50K, maybe it'll go up to 60. High end, maybe 100. So we're going to see what happens there. But the deal was 7 years, $7.7 billion. Big time for the UFC. And again, I believe it's great for the fans. Don't got to worry about buying the pay-per-view. It's cheaper for the fans to watch the sport now. It's just, does this benefit the fighters? We'll see. Time will tell, right? It's not till January. So no changes until 2026. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping. NFL is around the corner, guys. Best time to support the system while you profit as well, long term, right? NFL Futures podcast will be out soon. I've obviously been starting my studying for the futures market. That client card will be out towards the end of August. Injuries could happen in camp. Don't rush the futures. Injuries happen every camp, every day, guys. Right? So wait to bet your futures until after preseason is completed. That's what I always suggest. The line's not going to change much, guys. Right? It's not going to be a drastic move. So that's what I always suggest. But yeah, we'll do an AFC preview first. I'll be working on that this weekend, and then we'll do an NFC futures the following week. So look out for that on all platforms. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which most of you are these days, it's appreciated. Thank you for listening. If you're still watching on YouTube, it's much appreciated as well. Get to see me. What's up? Video continue to improve. Let's do the recap of UFC Vegas 109, and it was another profitable card for myself and clients. We hit on Hernandez. Hernandez was always the bet. I expected a later finish or decision, which I did mention on the podcast last week, and it was a 4th round submission, and it was impressive. Just impressive by Hernandez. Just dominated. He was ragdolling Dolitz when nobody ragdolls him. How he submitted him standing with a choke was very impressive. Hernandez is the legit real deal, guys. That's 8 fights in a row he's won now. It's unbelievable. Very impressive. He's not far from a title shot, guys. He's going to get that top 5 guy next, and if he wins that fight, he's going to get a title shot, in my opinion. I was on the over 2.5 rounds as a straight bet. As well. Laid a little juice on that. But we also had Hernandez in a 3-fight parlay, rare 3-fight parlay. Usually I stayed at 2. But I did like a lot of the favorites on this card, and all 3 cashed at plus money. So it was a good card for myself and clients. We got an 18-7 pay-per-view run on the line this week. Average line plus money. Looking forward to that. Let's get right into this card. We got a big card here, a fun card to talk about. This card's very deep from top to bottom. Even from the early prelims, guys, there's good fights. Shop around, like I always say, guys. Have multiple sports books. Get the best price out there. UFC, most important to have multiple sportsbook. I stress that all the time to you guys. Main event, DDP, the champion, is plus 200 versus Chimaev minus 250. Yes, I was a little surprised. You don't always see, you rarely see, I would say, you see it sometimes, but you rarely see the contender being a larger favorite. It's fairly odd, right? Now, I agree that Chimaev should be a favorite here. He's looked unstoppable. He's obviously undefeated. And I think the wrestling could be a problem for DDP. Right? But this line looks like that Chimaev is the champ at minus 250. Right? The books are super high on Chimaev. I understand a little bit. I just don't agree with the price. You know, I am leaning his way, and I'll tell you why. But DDP is very difficult to bet against for me. I have lost in the past. I've took Adesanya over him. I have been burned before betting against DDP. So yes, I believe there's value at plus 200 on DDP. I think the line is off here. Now, I do my own lines before looking at the market lines. Right, I had Chimaev more as minus 175, 180 range. And multiple reasons for it. Let's first talk about Chimaev and why I believe should be the favorite in this fight. Obviously, the Robert Whittaker fight, very impressive. But let's be honest, Whittaker has taken a step back in his career. He showed in his last fight as well. Right, we've seen Chimaev struggle at times in big fights against Gilbert Burns and Usman, and that was down a weight. Keep that in mind, guys. He won those fights. Very impressive wins, very impressive on the resume, but he didn't blow through those guys like he did with a Robert Whittaker or others. So when he stepped up in competition, besides the Whittaker, there were fights. He wasn't running through guys. Right, and keep in mind, guys, that was at 170. Now he's moving up to fight a bigger guy in DDP. Obviously, Chimaev will be bigger as well, and he can bounce back through 185 and 170. It's not a problem. DDP should be the bigger man, though. I don't know about stronger, but he'll be the bigger guy in the cage. He probably will come in at 215, 210, in that range. DDP resume, impressive. But I got to stress a few things here. Hasn't fought anyone that could wrestle like Chimaev. It's not even close. He's fighting strikers. Strickland, Adesanya, Strickland, and then Whittaker. Whittaker can wrestle, sure, but he doesn't wrestle. He rarely wrestles, right? He likes to stand and fight. So all these guys he's fighting are all strikers. And the impressive part is he, a lot of the time, strike with them. He stood and banged with them. He's very well-rounded, guys. He's a pure MMA fighter. Very good at everything, not great at anything. Now, you could argue also Adesanya was kind of on the back nine of his career there. Strickland, I could say he was in the back nine, but he's just all over the place, right? You could argue Strickland won that first fight in Toronto. Right, either way, good resume for both guys, but I'm just trying to say none of these guys are wrestlers, DDP. And I know DDP can wrestle. But we know the path here, right? Chimaev wants to get this fight done early. He wants to get a first, second round finish. When you get into round 3, 4, 5, we don't see it. We haven't seen it. We've seen a 3-rounder, and he did gas late in that fight. Usman stole a round. If he gets into round 3, 4, 5, how will he look? We know DDP and how he will look. He's improved that cardio a ton. He's been there, done that. So if DDP survives the early onslaught from Chimaev, that grappling and wrestling pressure, he definitely has a shot to win this fight later in the rounds. Like, it's very hard for me to see DDP early finish. That's not happening. The way DDP wins this fight is by decision or a late stoppage due to Chimaev slowing down a ton. Right? Chimaev's path, could he win a decision? He could. It would be a little surprising. I think Chimaev wins this fight by finish, either submission or TKO ground and pound. But guys, remember, DDP, you could also argue, Chimaev hasn't fought a wrestler like DDP. Now, Usman can wrestle, but they didn't, if I recall, there wasn't a ton of wrestling in that fight. If I recall. So DDP, again, big, strong guy. He can wrestle. His whole training camp was wrestling, obviously. So it's going to be interesting to see when Chimaev gets this fight down to the ground. I expect him to get this fight down at some point because you can't take DDP down. I do have to stress this, guys. DDP has been taken down by Darren Till. Okay, and then Brunson. Brunson's a pure wrestler. You kind of expected that. But DDP can be taken down. There's no secret about that. Right? His takedown defense... around 50%, guys. Right now, again, he's not fighting guys that try to take him down a ton. So it's gonna be lower than it really is if you got taken down by Brunson and Darren Till. The other fighters didn't really try to take him down. So that's important here, and definitely worth mentioning. So that's how this fight's going to go. It's going to be Chimaev early rounds, trying to finish this fight, trying to get this fight down to the ground and try to submit him or ground and pound him. That's how it's going to go. And how is DDP going to react and handle that? Right? Like I mentioned, if DDP gets this fight late, third, fourth, fifth round, advantage DDP. So let's see if he can handle the early onslaught from Chimaev. That's going to be the big question here. Because he is going to have the wrestling advantage here. He is going to have the grappling advantage here. DDP will have the striking advantage, in my opinion. That awkwardness, how is Chimaev going to be able to handle that? And is he going to have success taking DDP down? Because he has that grappling and wrestling advantage here, I am going to favor and bet Chimaev in some aspect this weekend. Again, I'm not in the business betting against DDP often. I just believe in Chimaev. I believe this is his time to shine. It's just, I'm not betting at minus 250. So I'm going to get creative here. I'd probably lean a finish. However, it could just fit into a 2-fight parlay for me and get it at plus money. So we're going to be creative here to see how this fight plays out. I would love to see it go deep and see how Chimaev reacts. Can Chimaev hand in the third, fourth, fifth round? If it gets there. So it'll be very interesting. I can't wait for this fight, guys. I can't wait for this fight. Like I said, Chimaev overpriced a little bit, but I get why he's the favored as the challenger, guys, coming into this fight. Co-main, Pico, minus 180 versus Murphy, plus 140. Murphy saved this fight, taking it on short notice. And it's not the best matchup for him. It is a difficult fight to handicap, and it probably will miss my client card just because you don't know how Pico's going to come in at a very high-level fight in a big spot, right? This is his debut. I don't like betting guys on their debut. We've seen all these Bellator fighters, big-name guys come in, and what are they mostly have been losing, guys. Right? And Murphy's undefeated. So yeah, value at plus 140 on Murphy, but I don't like the matchup from a skill to skill set, right? Pico's one of the best wrestlers out there in MMA, period. Murphy's more of a striker. He can wrestle, he can grapple, but he's a striker-based guy, kickboxer, boxer. Pico, if he just comes in and chain wrestles, he wins this fight. That's the big question. Does he come in and chain wrestle? Does he want to win boring, or does he want to try to put on a show in front of Dana in his debut? I don't know, right? You can't answer that. I can't answer that. Nobody can answer that besides him and his coaches. Sometimes even the coaches can't answer that. Because he may just change it up in the middle, right? Sometimes the coaches say, I don't know what he was doing in there, right? So that's going to be the question here. Murphy's looking great, right? Continues to get better and better each fight. That's what I love to see from him. Gets better, improves his skill set each fight. Love watching that, right? Now, he does have the 54% takedown defense. A lot of it was prior. He's improved it. But Pico, like I mentioned, if he just stresses the chain wrestling, he wins this fight. He should be able to take down Murphy. Murphy's not a wrestler. From my knowledge, he has no background in wrestling. All Pico has is background in wrestling. College, championships, etc., etc., etc. That's all Pico has. So it's a very winnable fight for him. He just has to stick to the boring game plan. And does he want to do that in his UFC debut? Dana White probably will say, oh, yeah, he didn't look that good, but he got the win. Right? If he does that. Does Pico want that recognition, or does he want to put on a show in front of the pay-per-view fans? Big question, right? So it's the classic wrestler versus striker here. I have to lean Pico for podcast purposes. Is it going to make my client card? No, I don't bet debut fighters in big spots. You never know what's going to happen. And Murphy's undefeated, guys. So I'll be staying away from this fight. I'm going to lean the over 2.5 rounds. I believe this should go the distance. Especially if Pico's just trying to chain wrestle, slow it down. I don't see a submission from him. Neal plus 200 versus Pratis minus 250. This fight's back on. I remember this was rescheduled a while back. I believe something happened with Neal, if I recall. Should be a good fight. Both guys lost to Gary, right? Neal actually put up a little better performance than Pratis, even though I am leaning and favoring Pratis here in the bounce back spot. I think it's a good matchup for him. I don't expect Neal to try to wrestle. So it's going to be a striker's delight, striker versus striker. Right, Pratis more long, more lanky. He's going to have the kicks that could win him this fight. Use that distance. Neal more of a boxing style. So I like the bounce back spot here for Pratis. Didn't love what I saw in the Gary fight though. Gary pretty much dominated the fight. Now Gary's very good. I do believe Gary's better than Neal. Neal, a lot of questions with him too, right? He drops a lot of fights. Out of a lot of fights. Sometimes he has injury issues. So you don't really know 100% how he's coming into this fight. I expect the fighting nerds to have Pratis extra ready for this fight. They've trained for him before as well, right? But, it could be a close fight, right? I have a little closer than the line indicates. I have Pratis as the favorite as well. But I have this fight maybe going to decision and it being close. Right? So, again, I like the over 2.5 rounds. If I go the decision, maybe get a better number of Pratis by decision. Neal's very difficult to put away, guys. So, yeah, this is a great fight. I'm excited to see this fight. Cannonier plus 162 versus Page minus 188. Interesting one here. Pages are always a tough guy to handicap. You just don't know how the guy's going to react to him. It's a very difficult style to handicap because the karate base, the point fighter, the distance, and in his fighter, is his opponent going to try to take him down? That's how you beat him. If you just try to point fight with him, flip a coin, guys. And if it's just a point fighter, I would start leaning Page. But if Cannonier decides to wrestle where he's going to have the advantage there, he can win this fight, guys. He's coming off a nice win over Rodriguez. He still has that power on the feet. But if Jared Cannonier wrestles, he used to wrestle a lot, guys. He doesn't anymore, I get it, but this is the way to win the fight. Take down Page, use your size advantage. You're going to be stronger, bigger than him in there. Hold him down. That's it. Right? You want to win, right? You don't always have to win pretty. Win ugly here. Wrestle, wrestle, wrestle. Win this fight, Jared. That's why I like the value here at plus 162 on Cannonier, but it would have to be a smaller unit for me because I'm hoping he listens to the coach. I'm sure the coaches are trying to say, guys, wrestle. Don't go in there and strike with the guy. He's just going to win a distance game. Don't go in and strike with Page. So if he listens to me, and I'm guessing the coaches are telling him that, right? You would have to think that, right? Page, okay, you can take the guy down, 63% takedown defense. Take Page down, win the fight, Jared. So smaller unit, due to the value at plus 162 on Jared, will probably make my client card this week. You got to also look at the over 2.5 rounds, but you're laying like minus 300 on it. But, you know, the fight goes the distance, 2.5 rounds, improve the price Jared by some. Jared could get a finish. It is possible, but you don't see Page getting a finish. So, yeah, should be an interesting fight to see how the styles clash. Last one here, I'll talk about Tim Elliott plus 270 versus Asakura minus 300. I believe Asakura is the rightful favorite here. It's interesting. He's going from a title shot in his debut, which is like almost unheard of, versus Tim Elliott. So it's a big step down. Pantoja next level, but he's been in there with a guy like Pantoja. Tim Elliott obviously on the back end of his career here. The only issue, right? Like if Tim Elliott just chain wrestles, makes this boring. He did struggle with Pantoja's takedown and grappling. There is a shot for Tim Elliott to just win this fight in a boring style, but I expect Asakura to bounce back here. After he had that big spot, he's not in that big spot anymore. The lights aren't bright, right? Opening fight on the main card, right? Elliott, like I mentioned, back end of his career, 39 now. Still could win, right? He's coming off a win. I'm not saying he's totally done. He does have a lot of veteran experience here. And no way could I bet Asakura minus 300. But for podcast purposes, he'll be the play here. Tough to call an outcome here. You can see a finish. Tim Elliott's been submitted a ton. That is live here. He's been, submitted like 6 times in his career, guys. So that is live. But I would feel more comfortable with Asakura on the money line. But again, I don't bet minus 300 money lines. Unless, I throw it in a 2-fight parlay, at times 3-fight as well. That will do it, guys. That will do it. This is a great card. I'm very excited for this card. Main event mainly, but then there's also very intriguing fights throughout the whole entire card. I'll have some client bets in the prelims as well. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy this card.